Welcome to episode 5 of Eternal Horizons, a Magic the Gathering podcast where we look out on the legacy format and beyond. My name is Jasper Murison Bowie, or just Jasper, and I'm here with my good friend Francis Cooper, aka FGC. How's it going, Francis?
I'm well, thank you. It was my partner's 30th/31st birthday celebration last night, which I believe Jasper also came to, if I remember correctly. And so
memory a bit hazy there, is it, Francis?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little worse for wear on this Sunday afternoon, but generally happy.
Good. No, it was a very nice event indeed. So, no, that was fun. So, today we're going to talk about Blue-Red Repurposing Bay Painter, which you and I have both been tinkering with. We're also going to venture far from the world of Eternal to chat a bit about Standard and Draft after last weekend's Pro Tour Lorwyn Eclipsed. But first, Premodern. Francis, you just took Psychatog to a local tournament on Sunday. How did that go?
Yes, so the tournament was, I guess it runs sort of quarterly, and it's a proxy-friendly Premodern event that's been running for, 4 years, something like that. And I took Psychatog, which isn't the first time I've played with the card Psychatog in the format, but it is the first time that I've played a sort of more common or garden variety. I don't know, like a more vanilla list of like Psychatog.
And here we see the common or garden variety Psychatog in its natural habitat.
Exactly. I'm not sure what Psychatog's natural habitat is. It seems to live in some sort of cave.
It's in my nightmares.
Okay.
That's what its natural habitat is.
It's fine. Edward P. Beard Jr., clearly.
It's like a sleep paralysis demon.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. Yes. But I have played Psychatog before. The last time I played Psychatog at an event was 2024, September time, similar sort of event. And Psychic Frog was running rampant in Legacy after its recent printing in Modern Horizons 3. And I thought, I'd love to play an analogous Psychatog Twisted Abomination shell. So I put together Toginator.
Right.
Which I've not seen anyone do before this. And to be honest, at that point in time, I don't think very many people were playing Psychatog at all in the format.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were some like Quirion Dryad shells, maybe, like multicolor.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I've seen those lists around. I don't know how old they are.
Yeah.
Grow-a-Tog.
Yeah. But this, I wanted to play like the Legacy deck, a Demir shell.
Mm-hmm.
That deck, and I won that event, and it ended up seeing quite a lot of play for anything that I've ever created outside of that. It was quite surprising. Somebody, I think, played it, like streamed it and played it in an online league or something. And then, people started picking it up for paper events, which is quite fun to see. But I didn't play that because I found that deck really dealt a lot of damage to itself. You're playing Reanimate, and that deck also had Snuff Out in it, and it had Underground River. And people were playing, burn decks, which... rather unfortunate. I thought I'll just play a more middle of the road sort of list. So I spent some time watching videos of people on YouTube and looking at recent results, and I came up with something that I liked the look of. So I suppose I'm playing like a standard 4 Psychatog 1 Wonder creature base, which some people are not playing Wonder. Wonder wins you so many games that would take so much longer to win otherwise, and often like there were games in this event where you draw your whole deck and you need to kill them that turn. Yeah. And you can't do that if they have multiple creatures on the ground or whatever. So
there are a lot more groundling creatures running around in Premodern than there are flyers. Flying, I think, one of the best abilities in the game. And I think certainly at this point, there weren't that many creatures being printed with flying because it was seen as a massive upside. So there aren't just random dorks that have flying. It's like Birds of Paradise and then threats.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose otherwise it's a reasonably standard list. So I'm playing, Counterspell, and I'm playing 1 foil and 1 force spike and 2 circular logic. Those things are flexible across most lists. I wasn't that impressed with foil, which is kind of weird. I thought I'd be higher on it, but you kind of really need all your resources to kill, basically, later with Psychatog. So I think having 1 is fine. I was playing 4 AK, but 0 intuition. That card's quite clunky, and it's quite expensive. And I really wanted to maximize gush, which meant not playing as many expensive cards because you're returning lands to your hand. And then also, part of the gush theory usually is that you want to play as few lands as physically possible, and you want to play lots of, and part of doing that is by playing lots of cantrips. So some lists don't play opt that I could see. It's made lots of sense to me to play as many 1-mana cantrips as you could reasonably do so you could lower your mana base, so you could gush more consistently for that land drop, because gushing when you already have a land in hand isn't a great place to be unless you're winning the game that turn with Psychatog by discarding everything. So I'm playing 4 portent and 3 opt and 4 gush. And then
I assume that no days is also a concession to like both the blue-black mana base and also just gush mostly.
Yeah, I've very rarely have ever played days with gush in the same deck. They sort of, you just will never get out under your opponent, especially when you want to resolve a 3-mana spell as your win condition.
Yeah.
And you want to be casting like Fact or Fiction, or you want to be casting, which I have 2 copies of, or like you can't really afford to do that. If your like plan is to play a Phyrexian Dreadnought and stifle it, then you're more in the space where you can afford to have far fewer lands in play. And then I'm playing 2 Powder Keg, which basically I think it will be quite difficult to beat Enchantress if they get out ahead of you. I don't know if they're playing it anymore, but the last time I played this deck, I don't think it could reasonably ever beat Elephant Grass, which was in the list at the time. I have to pay for my creatures to attack, and if they're black, they can't attack at all.
But Powder Keg doesn't beat Elephant Grass, right? So
does it not kill Elephant Grass? I'm quite tired. Artifacts and creatures. I'm talking out my... Sorry. This is clearly...
That's okay.
This is clearly party brain coming through. Well, then I still am very poor against Elephant Grass, and that's how
I don't think they're playing Elephant Grass at the moment. Though.
No.
For most Enchantress lists that I see are not playing Elephant Grass. So.
That's fine.
And Powder Keg seems like it would be great against just a lot of the random creaturey decks and Mox Diamond decks. And
it was much better than I thought it would be. I always see it as quite clunky. Interestingly, Powder Keg has recently gone up in price a lot, which surprised me when I opened my deck list on Moxfield and saw that, it's come down a little since then, but it's now $62 for 1 Powder Keg, which...
That's a lot for a Powder Keg. Good lord.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, I've talked about the main deck quite a lot now, and some of it false, some of it not.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really sweet. I was wondering, how you find it playing a deck that only has 4 threats. Obviously, loads of cantrips, but presumably the playstyle is quite cautious. You can't really afford to have your Psychatogs plowed, for example, because you presumably just don't have the resources to manage that.
It's a terrible mana trade as well, doing that.
Yeah.
It is tricky. You have, duresses, so you can work out if you can safely deploy your Psychatog, or you can see how your opponent's playing, whether or not you can afford to play it. And in a lot of spots, if you just cast Psychatog on turn 3, it's just like playing a moat. The opponent just can't attack, and it will just sit there, and they cannot attack into or block it, ever. Unless they are dead, in which case they have to block it, and they're just in the abyss. So it is kind of... It's weird thinking about it from a modern perspective, but it is a ridiculous creature, given the rest of the format that it's in.
Yeah.
Only having 4 of them is poor, and you play a lot of... You're very happy just keeping hands with lands and cantrips or interaction. And you don't care about pressuring early at all. And I think often my opponents would be assuming that that's how the deck would play out. And they're often pretty blindsided by resolving a Tog at any point, because they just can't beat it. Or they keep a hand with a Source to Pleasure in it, and you can duress them and not take it. Just say, okay, well, you'll have a dead card, and I'll take something else. And I'll just not play out my Tog until I've cast AK for 3 cards or whatever, and it just doesn't matter anymore. So, I enjoyed it. It is very weak to Graveyard Hate, and specifically not like Tormod's Crypt or whatever, because you can...
Phyrexian Furnace.
Well, Phyrexian Furnace is the far better one against this deck, where if you can just consistently
you can't
pressure
build
me,
a graveyard.
Yeah, I can't force you to crack it by having a big graveyard at any point. So that's especially if you have it early. So that will come up later. But in the sideboard, yeah, I've got 4 blue blasts, well, 2 blue blasts, 2 hydroblast, and then the 4th duress. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. You want blue blast and hydroblast against red decks, and you want the 4th duress versus like combo control type decks. I have like 4 annul, again, because people might play Enchantress, people might play artifact combo decks. And then, 2 Engineer Plague for goblins and elves, mostly. And then there's 1 Sabo's Web for people playing Mishra's Factory or Richtemport, or somebody was playing a deck that I know as Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which is what it's called in Legacy. I can't remember what he called it in... I think he just called it Fluctuator. But that deck only plays lands that have the cycling keyword on them. So Sabo's Web is...
Sabo's Web, kind of a beating.
And they all enter tapped as well.
Oh,
so
God.
You just play your Sabo's Web and they just...
They just lose.
Yeah, and then I have 1 Zombie Infestation, which is your, like... You're saying, or was it... You can't... If you can't win with Psychotog, you're probably boarding in your Zombie Infestation, and you're just trying to ignore the cards that are preventing Psychotog being good and draw a load of cards and make a load of zombies.
Yeah.
So that's the deck, including some errors on my part, but that's fine. And yeah, I guess we played 5 rounds in the Swiss. So I played against Alex on what he called Trevor Alluran. Trevor seemed to be Premodern's version of Band, which is like a...
Oh, I see. Yeah, Trevor the Renewer or whatever. No, that's Rith the Renewer?
I don't know.
The legendary dragons, anyway, the 3-color, like, Alara Shard legendary dragons.
Yeah.
People seem to say Rith for Naya and Trevor for Ban and stuff.
So I played against Alex on Welder Survival, which looked like a really cool deck. So he was playing like...
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, classic. Obviously, you're playing Welder, so you want to play Cavern Harpy, and then a card called Raven Familiar, which is like an anticipate on a creature ETB with Echo. So you can like Cavern Harpy, Raven Familiar to draw your deck. And then something to do with like Mana War and Wall of Roots. I can't remember exactly, but the cards like Cavern Harpy, Raven Familiar, Mana War of Roots, Spike Feeder. So those cards like together seem to like get you infinite mana and life, and you can also make your creatures infinitely big by putting counters on them with Spike Feeder.
Sick.
That's the sort of
clunky and nonsensical, like all good pre-modern combos.
Yeah, well, you have Survival of the Fittest to like find things.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was playing like a normal green mid-range shell around that, so that was really cool. I did manage to beat him 2-0. He basically didn't find any source supply shares in either game. Psychotog just was cast early both games. I think one game I had like Circular Logic backup, but the other game I just played it out because I didn't really know what he was doing. I think game 1 I just played it out, and he already had a survival in play, and I didn't know what he was playing. I was like, well, maybe you can kill me, but if you don't kill me, then I'm probably going to kill you, or I'm going to like have a Psychotog in play with protection, and that's going to be bad for you.
Yeah.
He couldn't quite get there on killing me, and yeah, notably, he did name Gush with Meddling Mage in both games, and that, I think, was very smart, because Gush really powers up your Psychotog. Like, it puts 4 cards in your hand that you can discard and then exile from your graveyard.
Yes.
So that was interesting. Then round 2, I played against... So I won that 2-0, then I played against Dario on Blue Dreadnought, Stiflenaut, and I think I learned a lot about the format playing this match, where like I was trying to play a very classic control game against him, where he ended up having like kind of awkward hands where he didn't have enough land drops, and I got to cast my like AKs and stuff to draw cards and make plenty of land drops, so I had loads of mana, and I had cards, and he was discarding cards, basically. So I was happy to just sit and not do anything until the point where he like had to commit because he was going to discard, and then I could maximize my mana. But because the deck plays so many like free spells, we basically got to the point where he won by casting, I think it's called Flash of Insight, from his graveyard as like the last thing he had, and found a counterspell with it and won a counterspell war, and I died. Which I just thought yeah, it just didn't. And I had 7 cards and it was all interaction. But because his cards were so cheap, it didn't matter that he discarded a load of cards. Basically, like his discarded cards were equivalent to the extra lands I had to put into play.
Right. So what you said that taught you about the nature of the format is that you feel like you should have tried to commit like a threat to the board and race it, or what's the takeaway there?
I wonder if maybe I could have bid slightly differently on it, like on the game. There would have been like moments where I could have gone in where I didn't, because I was just happy waiting for him to discard. And in game 2, I think similar things happened where I was trying to set up value-based engagements where like he would have to discard to hand size. I could sit and like make land drops. All I care about is eventually defending one Psychatog and getting in for lethal. And we ended up getting to like a point where I had like 2 cards in my library or something, because I'd like naturally drawn like a load of my deck. And I didn't know that they played Brain Freeze in the sideboard. So,
oh no,
like I was going to kill him the next turn and he just like Brain Freeze me. And I was like, oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no.
I've like set up this whole thing where I was like, you can't win. So that was interesting. So I lost that match. And it's quite a neat sideboard plan. Like you're playing your Vision Charms, and Vision Charm it has a way of combo with Dreadnought, but it also has a mill 4 clause on it. So you can mill your opponent for 4, mill your opponent for 4, brain freeze them for 9 type thing. So
yeah,
there are ways of doing that. So I think I would have changed my plan entirely. Like I would have had to be much more aggressive in both games, I think, knowing that. But that's good to learn. And then I went back to playing against Survival. I played against Aki. He was playing like a Survival, Carrion Feeder, Karmic Guide, Genesis, Deranged Hermit. These are cards that I saw he had.
Sick.
In game 1, their hand was like full of expensive bullets that I assumed he wanted to get to Survival with 4. He had mulliganed, I think, and he only had 2 lands and maybe like a Birds of Paradise, but I killed their Birds of Paradise and they basically couldn't get the game going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then game 2, they mulled to 5 and I annulled their Survival, and then I got to Ghastly Demise their Genesis and Coffin Purge it, which was their plan to like grind me. So like, yeah, their hand just like, they just drew the wrong bits of their deck and they had to mulligan a lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
so that wasn't.
That does happen, I think, particularly with non-blue decks in the format. I think you just like in Legacy, you have a non-blue deck, you don't have card selection, you do have to try and mulligan to find the stuff that does stuff, and then if you don't find it or it gets interacted with, that can be game.
Yeah.
Were they playing Recurring Nightmare?
I didn't see that. I guess that would make sense.
I think that's quite cool tech with like Deranged Hermit and Survival. Is to Recurring Nightmare your Deranged Hermit a bunch of times and then win because you have an army of squirrels.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, but it just wasn't a particularly exciting match. Like Deranged Hermit can be a real problem for Psychatog, and then in round 4, I mentioned this already, I played against Ross, who was playing what he called Fluctuator and what I called Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which I don't know why it's called that. I think it's the sort of thing that a friend of ours might know why it's called that, but
I thought it was something to do with like, I want to get off Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and it's like people would say that when people were comboing off with Astral Slide. I think that's like the original.
Okay, because it's a cycling deck. Okay, yeah. So this wasn't playing Astral Slide.
Something like that. I don't know, but I'm just sort of vaguely tapping into some extremely inaccurate memories.
So in game 1, I did lose to, I believe, an early Fluctuator. And I couldn't really manage it, basically, with the way my hand set out. And he killed by like cycling a lot of creatures into his graveyard, casting Songs of the Damned, so add a black mana for each creature in your graveyard, and then Haunting Misery, which, if I just make sure I get the text right on this, but I think it's like a drain when you exile creatures from your graveyard. Yeah, remove X creatures from your graveyard from the game. Haunting Misery deals X damage to target player.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, sick tech.
it's almost like it felt a bit like playing against Living End, right? In that, like,
yeah,
except it kills on the same turn. It was very cool. And then in games like 2 and 3, I think game 2 he played out a lot of his cycling creatures, and there was like a weird mid-range game between like my Psychotog and his cycling creatures, and that was quite fun as like an alternate game plan. It felt a bit like playing against whatever Oops when they like have to just play out their spy and mill you because you've got a Grafticus Cage in play and they just want to like have creatures. It felt a bit like that.
Right.
Yeah, I think I won with just Psychotog. But then in game 3, I had the Sabo's Web, basically. Which Sabo's Web. That face. And my opponent was a good sport about it in that he didn't flip the table. So I basically like
I guess that's just what you're signing up for when you sign up with that deck is, okay, none of my lands on tap under Sabo's Web and I lose to...
Yeah, like, it's a reasonably commonly played card. I like also had a really great hand. It was like duress 1 fluctuator, annul your other fluctuator on your turn 2.
Oof.
Then play Sabo's Web. And like, I think he had 1 land in his deck that came in untapped and didn't have cycling. And it was like, okay, right, we can keep playing if you like, sort of game.
Yeah.
So that's where we were. And that meant that I could ID with Paul to be in the top 8.
Sweet.
We did play fun, and then we played a match in top 8. Paul was playing like a red-green survival deck, which I thought was really cool. It was much more combo-oriented than maybe I would expect, and it was playing like Natural Order and like a lot of Xantid Swarms. I think he had a main deck Xantid Swarm, actually, because he was expecting to play against blue decks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be a bit scary to sit across from with Psychotog.
Yeah, and he had like this combo of like anger plus Xantid Swarms. So he could like just get them and keep attacking me to stop so he could cast his Natural Orders and things. It was a really cool engine. I really enjoyed that. I did manage to clinch it, but in the fun game we played, like when we ID'd, he got me. So it was, maybe he gave me information by offering to play a friendly as to how his deck worked.
Right. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I would have. I definitely sideboarded differently when we actually played in the top 8.
Okay. Interesting.
A word of caution for fun matches.
That sounds like a cool. Yeah. That sounds like a cool list, though. I'm assuming those lists were published somewhere, so I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yes, I need to contact Francis about that. Not me, other Francis Ginro.
Yeah.
The last match I lost in the semi-finals playing against blue-white Landstill, which I think is a tough matchup from what I could tell. Basically, it went to 3 games, and the deciding turn, he had no cards in hand, and it was post-board, and I thought, you're dead to 1 Psychotog. I can play out 2 Psychotogs. I doubt you have Wrath of God in your deck against me in game 3. You're much more likely to have Swords of Plowshares, and he drew Wrath of God off the top of his deck.
Oh, geez.
Which is pretty rough, and I just and then he just drew out of it, basically, and I died.
Ooh.
Which was pretty rough, because I really didn't think that he... Like, I legitimately do not think he should have that in his deck, basically.
Ouch.
So,
yeah,
it was unfortunate, honestly. Like, obviously it paid off for him there, but like a 4-mana sorcery that kills a creature most of the time, just 1 creature, is not a playable card, which is what it is in the matchup most of the time. Like, I only have 4 creatures in my deck. Well, 5 if you count Wander. So 4-mana destroy target creature at sorcery speed versus like the Force Spike Circular Logic counterspell deck seems horrendous. But it was there, and I lost to it because of a choice I made to play around Swords of Plowshares. So that was unfortunate, but very pleasant engagement. And then the Landstill player, I believe, lost the final to a previously mentioned card. I think the finalist was playing Korean Dryad, like Mox Diamond.
Okay.
Tempo, like Grow
a Tog. But with a Tog or without a Tog?
I don't know. I didn't see enough of the match, but
with a Tog sounds like an uncard. Without a Tog.
Yes. But yes, I generally was very happy with the deck. I think There's a couple of things that I might not have been so certain of. I'm less certain of powder keg now. I know it doesn't kill enchantments.
I hope you didn't kill any enchantments. It doesn't sound like you did kill any enchantments with it.
I didn't.
At the weekend,
I didn't.
That's fortunate.
No,
it does seem like a good card. I mean, I guess there's a reason why it's gone up in price so much, right? It does a lot.
I think it's on the reserved list.
It does a lot for the format. It does a lot for different decks in the format. I mean, you didn't play against any like goblins or anything like that, so I assume it would be good in that matchup. Although they have a fairly decent spread of different CMCs, I suppose. I
didn't play against goblins. I don't know if I particularly would even be excited for it against goblins. Like, it might kill one or two creatures. It's a way of like, but I think it's good against killing Phyrexian Dreadnought, right? You can just have it in play and have a 0 mana answer to Dreadnought that they need to stifle or they need to Vision Charm their creature or whatever. So yeah. But generally it was pretty good. I would happily take it again to another event. You're a bit soft early game, I think. Like, Ghastly Demise is not a good card.
No.
Right. The reason I'm playing a 4 spike is to have like more early game interaction density, but you don't have an awful lot. So if somebody gets out under you, it's very difficult for you to catch up.
There's also just something satisfying about playing one copy of 4 spike. I think that is for the BM, that's the optimal number of 4 spike to be playing, because you always have it when they don't think you have it, and when you don't need it because it's dead, you just pitch it, right? So it's fine.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, you can always give your Psychotog +1/+1 or discard it to foil.
So do you think you'd change it much? Do you think you'll run it back? What's the verdict?
I don't play enough of the format to like know what I want to do next time. I would be very happy recommending somebody play this list. I think it was good. I was impressed with most of the cards in it. Yeah, the main problems are like you're a little slow out of the gates, you're reliant on your interaction early, and your removal isn't amazing. That's sort of the cost, but that's inherent to playing the deck. You're sort of accepting that before you decide what the list is.
Makes sense.
That's my report. So yeah, I ended up coming third or something based on Swiss standings.
Very decent showing.
So yeah,
very nice.
Yeah. How are you finding Premodern? I know last time we talked about the format, you said that you'd not found a home or a deck. Notably, Painter Servant isn't legal. So how are you getting on with that?
Yeah, better, definitely. I've tried, I mean, as I said, I think last time I wanted to try some Welder decks, and I tried Welder Tinker because I sort of thought, oh, well, let's look at artifact decks since that's what I like doing in other formats. And I tried Welder Tinker, not being that interested in the like Devourer Fling lists, which do share some of the same cards that the Welder Tinker lists have. But the Welder Tinker list is much more prison focused. Like, you're playing tons of Winter Orbs and Tangle Wires, and you're mostly trying to... You do have a copy of the combo. You have like one Altar, one Devourer that you can tinker for, but that's something that you do probably once you've locked them out of the game with Winter Orb and Tangle Wire and Sabo's Web and whatever else. And I mean, you're playing... It's a bit odd. You're playing Sabo's Web. Certainly this, I was played Sabo's Web and Richardon Port, but I think probably you just want, the option to tap things down if they're threatening. Like, you can turn off man lands, which is pretty important, even if you don't find the Sabo's Web.
Yep. I would say Web is also like, you could also just use it as a value.
Yes,
piece
exactly.
with Welder,
no, for sure.
Right?
I was looping Web to draw cards with Welder, which is nice. And you just have tons of fun one-offs as well. Like, as a deck to look at, it's very sweet because you're playing like Icy Manipulator, because you can tap down your own Winter Orb and then untap all your stuff, and it's cool. Even though I liked the vibe of the deck in terms of, the cards that it was playing, lots of artifacts, I found the gameplay to be painfully slow. I played a league with it, and I think I went 3-2, and I had some really close matches and some fun matches. But just in terms of trying to close out the games, because you don't really have a big card advantage engine or anything. I mean, we talked about looping Sabo's Web, but that's sort of as much card draw as you get. You just are sort of hoping that like your one of Masticore can get there, or your one of Triskelion can get there, or you can combo. But the combo, I don't think I managed to assemble it once, just because often your tinker needs to find you something to make sure that they can't play the game, because you really don't have any answers to stuff that's happening. You have to be tapping it down with tangle wire. And so, yeah, I just struggle a little bit with the gameplay, and probably didn't help that I was playing on a laptop with a trackpad, and just like the games were going so long. And I think I fully timed out in one of the rounds. I'm not sure. And I definitely could have done better with the deck if I, hadn't made a couple of mistakes / hadn't played as slowly and so on. But even though I liked it, I was sort of feeling like, I don't know if this is for me in terms of the gameplay overall, because it compounds one of my issues with Premodern, which is just that things are pretty slow and grindy anyway. And some people love nothing more than like shutting their opponent out of the game completely. And that is like fun, but I also then want to end the game. I don't want to just sit there passing back and forth with no player doing anything. It's not my vibe. I respect if it is, that's totally okay. But I prefer to end the game. So then I was looking at other Welder lists, and I was chatting on the Painter Discord in the off-topic channel with some people about Premodern, and just asking like, oh, does anybody have a Premodern list they really love? Just because I figured that Painter players, we like certain things, and someone might suggest something that maybe if it isn't quite the same vibe, but at least has some similarities to the Painter gameplay. And Jack Kitchen came through, Jack Kitchen being one of the best Painter players around, and a very dedicated shortcake player specifically. He came through and sent me a list. He sent actually a beautiful decklist picture of his Premodern deck. And he is a man who knows how to build a pretty deck. And it was red-green Welder Survival. And I absolutely love Goblin Welder. I think I've said that many times. So I thought, okay, this I can definitely get behind giving a go. And I jumped into a league with that. And I'm now almost all the way through a second league with it. And I'm like 6-3 with it. I went 3-2 in the first league, and I'm 3-1 in the second league. And again, I think with more format knowledge and tighter gameplay, probably could have won a couple of the games that I didn't win. And I've really been enjoying it. I think that it does a lot of what I want. It's got a really cool toolbox thanks to Survival, which lets you go off, quote unquote. It's not strictly speaking a combo, but you can have these really, really cool turns where you bin your anger, and then you get a Triskelion and bin that, and then you get a Thopter Squadron and bin that, and then you get a Shield Sphere and play it and weld it out for the Thopter Squadron, and you can get Quirion Ranger to untap your welder and weld again, or get a second welder, and then you're welding a bunch of stuff. And to me, that just feels a lot more proactive than the prison deck. You're still playing Tangle Wire, and it does win you a bunch of games. I think that the deck really does need some kind of interaction, and you don't have that many options in red-green. And I'm really glad I tried this list, because I had, at a Premodern tournament in London in 2024, I had tried a list that was kind of similar to this. End of 2024, I took like a Welder Survival, but a Naya Welder Survival list with Enlightened Tutor, and found that to be very underwhelming in that tournament. I just never felt like it was coming together. And I think that might have been partly due to the mana, because Survival is so green mana hungry, and if you're playing an extra color just for Enlightened Tutor and some sideboard cards, I just found it to be pretty awkward a lot of the time. I don't know whether I was just unlucky. I've spoken to some people about Naya Welder Survival, or Rith Welder Survival, as they sometimes call it, which obviously people are having success with it, and I don't mean to like write it off, but I think I prefer the more streamlined version.
I think I would be aligned with you on that, in that I found the playing decks that have more than two colors in the format is somewhat restricted, unless you're playing Mox Diamond. I assume you are playing Mox Diamond, but
no, the list that I played certainly wasn't. I don't think you have room for it, because you really want the creatures to be making the mana. You really want Birds of Paradise and Wall of Roots and Llanowar Elves, or Findhorn Elves, whatever. Elves.
So you want, but that makes sense. But then also, like, you're going to be playing whatever Battlefield Forge or something over your basic mountain. So you're just going to take more damage. You're going to get wastelanded more. You're going to be more vulnerable to Rishadan Port. You're going to have hands where you don't have your mana sources available. And you're not going to be able to consistently activate survival at the same pace either, I would guess.
The other thing is that deck was playing Phyrexian Colossus as like a big welder target. And to me, that just looking back, it just seems like a massive trap. I think that you're much better off going for like Thopter Squadron and Triskelion, because both of those cards have quite a lot of impact on board states in a way that Phyrexian Colossus, even though it's a big 8/8 that can't be blocked by fewer than 3 creatures, and it should win you the game, to untap it, you have to pay 8 life, which you're not often in a position to do. So you have to weld it out and then back in. And I don't think I was playing any Quirion Rangers, which maybe I just oh no, I was playing a Quirion. No, a couple of copies of Quirion Ranger. I've got the deck in front of me. But so I don't know, maybe I just wasn't playing it quite right, very likely, or it wasn't built quite right. But certainly I preferred this build, and I've been really, really enjoying it. That's sort of the TLDR, is that I definitely want to play more with this red-green list. There's a few sideboard cards I want to change. But there's you have this great toolbox. Like this list is playing a main deck Flametongue Kavu, a main deck Goblin Sharpshooter, main deck Bottle Gnomes, all of which I've just really started to enjoy the nature of the gameplay with a deck like this in Premodern, where, for example, yesterday I was playing in a league against Reanimator, and like I kept like a hand with a Tangle Wire and 2 copies of Survival in the blind, and my opponent duressed me on turn 1, took the Tangle Wire, they were on the play, and then untapped and Cabal Therapied both my Survivals. And I nearly scooped because I was like, but I didn't scoop because, you know, the Reanimator threats don't end the game straight away. My opponent then on their next turn, like they careful studied on turn 2 and then reanimated a Chroma Angel of Wrath on turn 3. So turn 3 a Chroma, I had very little hand left, but I did manage to find another Tangle Wire and a Goblin Welder. And after that, like they just couldn't really play the game anymore because I, you know, was able to weld Tangle Wire out for Tangle Wire and just tap down a Chroma every turn and then attack, eventually just get some like dorks into play and attack for 1 or 2 or 3. I think I drew a Thopter Squadron, or maybe my Thopter Squadron was my opening hand, and I just amassed 5 mana and Thopter Squadroned. And like they just couldn't win anymore. It was so strange. Like as from this situation where I was like, oh, this feels like lights out, to just eking out these tiny bits of advantage. And Goblin Welder, I think, is just super strong and such a fun card to play with because you have so many opportunities to extract value and do cute things. And like even just little things like, you know, you have Goblin Sharpshooter and Bottle Gnomes, and you can sack the Bottle Gnomes to untap the Sharpshooter. And like, I don't know, I did that against Pox to kill whatever their 2 mana threat is that has 2 toughness. And it's just like, you have all these little things, and Anger lets you do cool things. I don't know. I've just been really enjoying the nature of the gameplay and puzzling out solutions to problems like live with a survival in play is super satisfying. You know, finding the Spore Frog from your sideboard to recur with Genesis to beat Angry Hermit is another thing that happened. And I don't know, I think I'm starting to understand Premodern as what is appealing about the gameplay when I'm playing a deck like this.
Okay. It does sound more like you found something that is both in your niche and strong enough to be playing. Like getting to abuse cards that you like in other formats like Goblin Welder, and then also play that like toolbox synergy game with Survival is also, I could see why that would appeal to you. So yeah, I'm happy. That sounds great. I suppose, do you think you'll play in paper at any point?
Yeah, I was looking at like when the next paper events are, and I don't think I can make like the next London Big Smoke. I don't know when the next one that Francis Jean Rowe is putting on will be, but I definitely want to try and make some paper events because definitely a big part of the appeal of the format is just how sweet the decks are and how chill people seem to be with it, which is something that I definitely want to do more of. And I'm sort of incentivized to do now that I've found a deck that I really enjoy playing. I have to say, I don't know how good the deck is. It's like hard to evaluate because I feel like in pre-modern leagues at the moment, online, people are doing all sorts of funky stuff. And often I feel like, you know, I've played a couple of matches against blue-white, like controlling decks, and it just feels like Wrath of God is just such a horrendous card to play against. You mentioned it earlier. With this kind of deck, it's really brutal.
Yeah.
But you do have a winter orb, and you've got your tangle wires, and I don't know. There's ways to win games.
Play.
It just, I think weirdly, there's this similarity, and maybe I'm just thinking about this because of who gave me the list, who's Jack Kitchen. There's this strange similarity with Shortcake where it feels like you're always losing till you're winning. Like a list like this, it's so much about incremental little things and returning your squee to hand every upkeep. So like, I don't know, for example, if my squee gets Phyrexian Furnace, it's kind of becomes hard work to keep survivaling, or if your Triskelion gets furnaced. But you do have,
I guess you need to you'd end up having to like get a welder in play and weld your artifacts into play for like Sabo's Web to keep your parity. Like you'd have to start doing that or something.
Yeah. Another neat bit of tech is the single copy of Gamble, where initially I was like, why are we playing one copy of Gamble? Like, what's this for? But I think that it just does just enough. Like, often you gamble with 5 cards in hand, and you're hoping that you don't discard the survival that you gambled for, and it's like your way of finding that. Obviously, not playing Enlightened Tutor, and that's okay. Sometimes you miss, and that's what playing Gamble is. But that's sort of playing the deck.
No gamble, no future.
No gamble, no future. And like, I don't know, even for sideboard cards, like I gambled for a Pyroblast and kept it in hand, and it won me a match. So those kinds of things. Plus, where it does get a bit more synergistic rather than just random fortune is, you can gamble for your big artifacts, or more specifically, if you need like a Tangle Wire or a Winter Orb, you don't care necessarily if it gets binned. You can just return it with Welder. So it gives you a tutor for things that otherwise you might not be able to get from your deck.
That all sounds rather promising, and I'm happy to like discuss this with you. And like, yes, I'm excited to see where it goes, especially in terms of paper events. Hopefully you do sort of learn more about the deck as you play it and how it fits into the meta game and how you maybe want to tweak it and adjust it based on what people are playing. Because it seems like, with all the tutor engines and recursion, you'll get a lot of percentages from like keeping on top of things and understanding what you need in your deck and what you need in your sideboard and what you don't want to have that week. So
yeah, definitely. A card that I don't currently have in the sideboard that I definitely want to put in the sideboard is Goblin Pyromancer. I don't know if you know what that card does.
I have definitely read that card before.
So it's 3 in a red for a goblin, and when it enters the battlefield, all goblins get +3/+0 until end of turn. At the end of turn, destroy all goblins.
So your welders get really frisky.
Right, but it's a sideboard card against goblins because it's just like pseudo one-sided Wrath of God.
I see. Yeah, you should play that. That sounds good.
It seems
I didn't
really
realize it was
good.
symmetrical.
Yeah, it kills all goblins, and it just seems like a great way to address like a big board that otherwise you're going to struggle against.
Yeah, people might not play around it as well.
Yeah. But
they might not now. Talked about it, but.
Well, anyway, you've got tons of options, and I think one of the best sideboard cards obviously is Naturalize. There's a ton of stuff in the format, and they can just play 4 Naturalize in the board, and that's pretty good. +3 Pyroblast, and that's like nice.
Yeah,
and there's just cool. It's just cool. There's just a bunch of cool things you get to play. I don't know. I'm enjoying learning about it. I'm enjoying, like, I definitely feel like every time I play a match with it that is like a reasonable match where both players don't have to mulligan a bunch and you actually get to play, I'm still learning new tricks and new things about the deck, and that's a very satisfying process. It's the kind of thing that I enjoy about Magic. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a bunch.
So speaking of things you enjoy. I heard that you watched a certain tournament recently.
Yeah, so at the same time as you were playing Premodern in London, there was a Pro Tour Top 8 happening in Richmond, I believe. Pro Tour Lorwyn Eclipsed, which I mentioned at the start.
Not Richmond, London.
No, indeed. Richmond, Virginia. It would be funny if it were Richmond, London. I didn't realize the ambiguity until I just said it, but yes, that would be that would be funny. No, Richmond, Virginia. And I hadn't really paid attention to Standard much, but I sort of was peripherally aware of the Pro Tour because obviously the new set's out, and I have been drafting a bit of Lorwyn Eclipse, which I've been enjoying. I enjoy draft anyway, and this is a decent set so far. But then I tuned into a bit of the Top 8, and the Standard gameplay actually looks really good. I can't believe that I'm saying this on our Eternal podcast, but I built a Standard deck for the first time in probably about a decade. So I have played a little bit of Standard. I wanted something just to play on Arena, between drafting stuff, just to switch things up a little bit, and because the gameplay looked pretty good, so I built Eduardo Sajgalic's Is It Elementals deck from the Pro Tour. But I would just highly recommend checking out the PT Top 8. I think that, the deck variety is awesome. There are 7 different decks in the top 8, which is very cool. And the games themselves are great. It's like proper best of 5 PT Top 8 coverage. It's like kind of like the PTs were in the good old days. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the experience of watching it.
Pachi top 8'd. As a guy, I never say his name, Pachi Sanchez top 8'd, who used to play a lot of the Axion events.
Oh, sweet.
Like he was like somebody who used to play a lot of the events in London and the UK. Yeah. And then obviously Eduardo lives in the UK, or he did for a long time. I don't know if he does anymore. Yeah, that's cool. I have not checked this out at all, honestly. Mostly because of the usual issues with standard. But looking at the list, there are quite a lot of cool, like appealing classic style decks. Like I'm looking at a Jasper control list that looks very familiar, like very classic. Looks quite not unremarkable, but it looks very efficient, and the mana base looks good. There's a lot of dual lands in standard right now. Looking at the mana base, there's like the Surveil lands and the Shop lands and the Verges. Those are all really strong dual lands. So I assume there's lots of like multicolored decks.
And there are man lands as well. So one of the decks that I think you would find cool is the only deck that put 2 copies into the top 8, which was Dimir Excruciator, which is with Doomsday Excruciator. And since you have a preponderance for Legacy Doomsday, I thought you might enjoy Doomsday Excruciator, which is obviously very different, but it does so basically when it ETBs, both players exile all but the bottom 6 cards of their library, and then you have this weird subgame where, because Excruciator draws you an extra card on upkeep, you theoretically have fewer turns than your opponent with a library, but you're then playing cards like Risen Reef, which is where I mentioned manlands, that mill your opponent for 4 cards, so you can break the deck shortening in your favor.
Yeah. Restless Reef.
Sorry, Restless Reef, not Risen Reef.
I think Risen Reef is something else. We were talking about this and I was a bit confused previously.
Restless Reef. Sense. My bad. I'm still not fully enfranchised into standard, don't you worry.
Well, I think Risen Reef is a card that draws cards when you play elemental spells. Or
oh yeah, it's like a blue-green elemental probably. Yeah.
Well, this is cool. Superior Spider-Man.
Yes.
Because Spider-Man isn't enough.
Yeah.
This does look cool. It doesn't really... It is appealing to me, but it's not appealing to me in the way that, like, Doomsday is appealing to me. It's completely different.
It's more like... It's just like blue-black control with a sort of combo finish rather than... Because you are genuinely looking to assemble, like, you can Superior Spider-Man into Excruciator after discarding it to Bitter Triumph, and then you have, like, Insatiable Avarice to make them draw cards, as well as the Restless Reef to mill them. So... You have legitimate avenues to combo. There's also a cool thing where if you stock up and you then don't shuffle, you can stack the bottom of your deck with stock up before you Excruciator, and then you know that you have the tools that you need to win. There's a very funny thing that happens where the commentators are constantly expressing like shock and awe that like Christopher Larson has found. Oh my god, he's got the Restless Reef in the bottom 6 again. It's like, no, he put that there with stock up. Like that's what happened. But anyway, it's a sweet top 8. The commentating is great. There's Marshall and Paul Cheon in it as well, and Cedric Phillips is in the commentary team as well. So it's cool.
Yeah, I think the quality of casting of the Pro Tours is very high at this point in time, and I've actually been watching a bunch of old coverage of like I've been watching Grand Prix Minneapolis 2014 today.
Sick.
Just in the background whilst I've been hungover, which I've been really enjoying. I watched that, and I also watched another. I think it was also GP Richmond 2014. I watched that as well. Modern, both of them. And the quality of the coverage and like how crisp it is so noticeable now.
Right.
Compared to then.
Yeah.
Like, just like the readability of the cards on the screen is much better, and how much they can fit in, and the way they've chosen to use that visual real estate is like, there is certainly 12 years of improvement visible.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool.
But yeah, I'm happy to hear that Standard looks fun again. As I think you must have played Standard slightly after I stopped playing Standard. Like, you probably stopped slightly afterwards, in that, like, I think the last time I played Standard was maybe Battle for Zendikar was coming out, something like that. I want to say I played a bit of like the start of Khan's Block, because I played like Dimir Control with like Dig Through Time and Pearl Link Ancient, and I played like Jeskai Ascendancy stuff, which is Khan's, but then I think very quickly was more focused on Legacy.
Yeah,
basically.
Fair. No, I think I probably played a little bit after. I remember the last big Standard event that I went to was a GP in Manchester, and the format was like, I want to say around like Eldritch Moon-ish. Like I was playing like a Bant Humans list, and the big card in the format was the 5-mana Avacyn that flips into a red Avacyn and deals a bunch of damage to things. I played a Bant Humans deck at that GP, and I think didn't play much Standard again after that, even though I did like that Bant Humans deck quite a bit, but just the pace of Standard got to be a bit too much, particularly as a student, and I think the gameplay so I got into Legacy.
Before we move on from Standard as well, I'm noticing there's a card in this topic called Dock Our Lock, or Dock Our Lock, or something. Grizzled Genius, which is just funny because I'm sure there's also a card in Standard called Dr. Octopus. So there's a card called Duckhorlock, which is from
Thunder Junction,
the Cowboy set.
Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
And there's also going to be... Surely they knew this. Come on, guys. Stop calling cards like phonetically the same thing. I'm gonna attack with Duckhorlock and Dr. Rock. Okay.
Oh dear. Yeah. No, I mean, one of the things that attracted me to the Izzet Elementals deck, which basically there are two Izzet Elementals decks. There's one that's like Spell Elementals, where you're trying to play a bunch of cantrips and then play like 7 mana, like
Gran. Is that it?
I don't think it plays Gran. I think it plays like a crab that costs less mana for each instant sorcery you have. But the version that I've built on Arena, just because I've not really built anything on Arena in Constructed for a long time, I had a bunch of wildcards, so I built the version that plays like all of the new Evoke Elementals. You play like Deceit and Vibrance. We talked a bit about these in the context of Legacy, although not those two specifically. Oh no, we did talk about Vibrance in lands. But yeah, that and Wistfulness, which I think has also seen some Legacy play in Up the Beanstalk.
Is that the blue-green one?
Yes, Wistfulness is the blue-green one. But you also play a 4-mana artifact creature where you choose a creature type and then it doubles the ETB triggers when that creature type comes into play. So suddenly you're like Vibrance getting 2 lands, double bolting them, and then you play main deck bounce off, so you can bounce your own elementals in response to the evoke triggers and just kind of go off. No, it's pretty cool. It's a very powerful format, I think. You know, you're definitely doing strong things because the cards are also pushed. But yeah, no, I mean, first time playing Standard, I can't say that I'll necessarily play loads of it, but I've just been enjoying playing different formats and a bit. Have you played any Limited of the new set?
I haven't, no. I know you have, but I haven't had the time really.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Would recommend.
Okay. I have played some Legacy this week.
Yes, excellent.
Which isn't always true, but I have played Legacy.
What did you play in Legacy?
Off the back of our discussions of with Goblin Welder and Repurposing Bay, I did play a variant on that, which I believe you also did in a league.
Yeah, I played a league with that. After we talked, I decided, okay, I'll put this through its paces and see what happens. You tried to cut Welder from it. You were like, I think I'm going to play it without. I'm going to play mono blue Repurposing Bay. And I was like, no, play Welder. And then you did play Welder. But
yeah, I don't know. I felt like the mana was not ideal. I still maybe feel that way. It's difficult to play. I did trim Welder, I think. So I ended up playing like 3 Welder, and then red sideboard cards and Pinnacle Emissary, which is kind of a blue card. Yeah. So, but that ended up being fine.
How did it go for you? You were playing on Thursday, right?
Yeah, I went 2-2. I had a lot of fun. It's the first time I've played Legacy in paper since really since being in Italy.
Oh wow!
So that was
Eternal Weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So that was fun. I like that very much. And I played a slightly different list because I did not have a Cyberdrive Awakener, which is what you, I think, were playing. So I played a Coveted Jewel as my 6-drop, which is obviously great with Welder, if you can get that going, where you weld Jewel in and out. You basically just draw your deck and have loads of excess mana, and that's obviously great. It's less good if you have Ensnaring Bridge in play, which I also did play. You're probably dead if you're doing that, but it doesn't combo with Bridge in the same way.
Sure.
But yeah, I found that chaining like Ring into Mightstone and Weakstone into Jewel was quite doable once you started going, and that would usually just win if it did get to do that. Mightstone and Weakstone, like tapping for 2 mana that you can use to activate your Repurposing Bay, means that like when you sack a Ring to get Mightstone, you get a rebate on the 2 mana of sorts. So you can spend that on something, and then you can use Mightstone to activate the Bay and get Jewel. So it's really clean, and having a main deck like way of dealing with a threat is also really nice.
Yeah,
so
I think that's good.
Very
good
happy
tech.
with that.
Mightstone and Weakstone.
I did play some maybe slightly less amazing options, which I thought would be fun, but didn't really come up. So I played like 1 Corridor Monitor, which is like a 2 mana 1/4 from, I believe, Throne of Eldraine, which has an ETB of untapping an artifact or creature. So you can like get it with your Repurposing Bay and untap your Bay. So if you have extra mana, you can like chain a 1 into a 2 into a 3. So you can chain a 1 into a 3. Or if you have a Welder, you can like Weld Monitor in and out to untap your Ring. Or you can untap your Welder or whatever. There's like a lot of fun lines with that. It didn't, and then I also played a Cryogen Relic, which is like a Ica Wellspring, ETB, and ETB draw a card, and then leave the battlefield, draw a card, not die. So you could flicker it, I suppose. But and then it has like a stun clause where you can sacrifice it and put a stun counter on something. That plus Chromatic Star, right, was like also another little like, yes, I can like sack my Chromatic Star, get a Cryogen Relic, and then I can just weld them in and out for each other.
Value. That does sound fun.
That was kind of an option that was in there. Yeah. So I don't know. It didn't really come up to do that. Basically, what I found was that I played against 2 decks that were a little more lenient on me. So I played against Andrew in round 1 on Cloud Post.
Okay.
Green Cloud Post. Andrew, lovely guy. Shout out to Andrew. He has not lived in London for a couple of years. This was the first time I'd seen him in 2 years. He moved back. So that was really nice. And one of the first things he said was that he likes listening to this podcast.
Hooray.
So hello, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. That's nice. We appreciate that.
Yeah. I was very happy to see him. It's been a while. And it was a complete surprise. That was nice. And yeah, he was playing like Crop Rotation, Primeval Titan, Cloud Post. And that gave me enough time without being interacted with to like get engines online.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Start
100%.
chaining artifacts into each other. And despite him having an Emrakul in his deck to make the combo like relatively ineffective, I think in one game like I ultimated the Tameo. Pinnacle Emissary was really strong. Like the whole thing got to sing.
Yeah.
And that was good. So I won that match.
Sweet.
And then the other deck that was more lenient on me was Alex playing like Blue Affinity. So he was playing Pinnacle Emissary into Kappa Cannoneer deck.
It doesn't interact super much, that deck.
It doesn't, and Welder interacts with them.
Yeah.
Which that came up several times.
Just love Goblin Welder, man. I'm so Welder pilled at the moment. I think I texted you that the other day when you were threatening to cut Welder. I was like, you can't do it. Welder's so great.
It was really good in that matchup where it was just like, oh, you have a 8/8 construct. I think you should have a Lotus Petal or whatever. That stuff was really good, and Pyroblast was really strong. Like the Ring was really strong. So that felt like a pseudo mirror where I had a bunch of mirror breakers in like it was close, but yeah, I think on average I'm supposed to win that matchup. But the other 2 decks I played against were much less forgiving. So I played against Doomsday, which was just like, okay, well, I have a Force of Will and I have a slower combo, and sometimes Grindstone is good.
Yeah.
Sometimes Pyroblast is good.
Yeah.
But if you have Duress, Doomsday with Force of Will backup, which kind of happened twice.
Oh no! Yeah, okay.
That it's just like, okay, right. Well, that's
because Force is like your only interaction for that, and they're very well set up to deal with Force. So that if you can't, I mean, Grindstone is meaningful interaction with Doomsday. There's a fun little sub game that happens if you have an active Grindstone and they Doomsday, but it is possible and fairly straightforward to build piles that don't lose to it. So
I wouldn't say it's fairly straightforward. I would bet that most people who sleeve up Doomsday could not just tell you piles off the top of their head that beat Grindstone.
No, sure, that's true.
And
I've won. I mean, to be clear, I've won quite a lot of games against people with an active Grindstone when they've Doomsdayed. But usually, what they say afterwards is like, "Oh, I misbuilt the pile. I should have done it like this," which makes me think that like if someone wanted to, they could build a pile that.
Oh, you certainly can. Basically, you want to build a pile that like doesn't sequence two cards of the same color at any meaningful point.
And it's often, I think, quite good for it to be a double Oracle pile because it means that you, like, assuming you don't already have one in hand.
Yeah, well, that did happen. So I made him like build a pile, and I could have found a Grindstone and activated next turn, and he just had the Oracle in hand as well. Like his pile let him like cast Oracle with Force of Will backup and had an Oracle in hand.
Okay. GG. Sometimes that just happens. I think one just has to accept that. But I do enjoy that sub game of like, you want to put like an Oracle on the bottom and then an Oracle in third, and then like two cyclers that don't share a color above that and stuff. So like,
that is correct.
But then there's still funky things that can happen if you like activate in response to a cantrip or if you activate in response to a cycler. Like there's a lot of permutations. So I was probably, you're right. I was wrong to say that it's straightforward. You do have to consider a lot of things.
No, it's true. I think it's 100% possible to beat Grindstone activating at any point in your pile.
Yeah.
To build a pile to do that. But I also think that most of the time, if you do that, you can never beat anything else.
Right.
So if you have Grindstone activation plus Pyroblast, I think you're like really, really likely to win. Whereas if you just have a Grindstone activation, if they know what they're doing, they should beat you, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was that. And then the other game match I lost was to Blue-White Stiflenaught, which, their deck was just super efficient and they had Source to Plowshares, and Stifle ended up being super relevant. I think game one, we both flipped a Tamiyo. I flipped mine slightly earlier. He ended up pitching a Stifle to Force of Will, and like I had to just activate Tamiyo Ultimate into his Tamiyo because I knew he was going to get to do his first.
Right.
Otherwise, and like he was just holding up mana. He already pitched a Stifle, and I was like, well, you just have to have Stifle. Like, I don't understand a world where you ever pitch the Stifle.
Yeah.
And he obviously has Stifle, and then he ultimated Tamiyo. Yeah. Like, that sort of stuff happened. And that was really tough. So I think game two, maybe I like kept a hand where I lost to getting Wastelanded. So like those two decks felt much more brutal and like much more like decks that condensed the game.
Yes.
As opposed to the other two decks, which were about expanding their own resources, which gave me time to do that for mine.
I think that's a good way of putting it, where if you get a chance to build your engine with Repurposing Bay, there's a lot of powerful stuff going on. Like the effects of the cards, obviously the One Ring is super strong, but just in general, that recursion / looping of things and building up to big mana spells, that's a strong thing to be doing. And I think that's nice, but I do totally get what you mean about just lacking interaction. And so you were talking about maybe adding Pyroblasts to the main deck to counteract that?
I did, yeah. I kind of wanted more main deck interaction, whether that's Lightning Bolt, but obviously you're playing a Painter deck. It's natural to want to play Blasts in the main. So I think I've written up a list that sort of trims more of the cute, like Corridor Manager, Cryogen Relic, Star, maybe not Relic, I can't remember why I can't exactly force some Blasts. But then you start losing out on your blue count. I think I was playing 19 blue cards in the list I played the other day, which is like right on the edge of I think it's acceptable. Honestly, I think it's maybe not acceptable. So maybe I squeeze in like a Sink into Stupor somewhere over a land, like to try and get a blue card in.
I think I was up to like 22, but I was also playing 4 Repurposing Bay, which I think is almost certainly wrong because it's so clunky. But yeah, it is tough. It is just that classic thing of like balancing blue count with balancing artifact count for Mox Opal with having the toolbox cards that you want to make your tutor worthwhile and so on. I think the first draft that I wrote of this deck did have Pyroblasts in it, but it is just difficult to make that work. I don't know. I'm curious. I will probably try again with Repurposing Bay and the list that we've now both played, and I think there's the overall effect of having the tutor is cool and interesting. So
yeah, I was very happy with the shell, I will say, and I think that's like the next step in improving it. I think is having more interaction main, playing Pyroblasts. If you're going to be playing red, makes sense. Accommodating that in terms of blue count is also like necessary. So playing Sink into Stupor. I was very happy with Pinnacle Emissary, I will say, as like a plan that also like lets you contest like Null Rod or whatever.
Yeah.
As well. And then also a 3-mana spell, which costs 1.
Yeah.
With Repurposing Bay. That came up a lot. That was really strong. So yeah, it really sort of all fueled nicely together.
Sweet.
I would be happy to play it again. I'm not sure if I will play it again soon because there's lots of legacy decks I want to play, but
yeah,
I can see myself coming back around to trying it. I did pick up the cards for it, so
sweet. Yeah, very cool. There's a couple of legacy things coming up. I'm going to the ELMQ in Bath in 2 weeks, and you're going to LLM next week. I don't think either of us are fully set on what we're going to play for either of those events yet. I might end up going to LLM as well, so that'll be sweet. It'd be nice to get some extra legacy in before the ELMQ. I will certainly register the card Painter's Servant and the card Grindstone, but beyond that, I could not yet tell you. I probably should start testing legacy a bit, but yeah.
I have no idea what I'll play.
The other thing, of course, is that there's a potential ban. Well, there is a ban and restricted announcement tomorrow. I think it's very unlikely that they mention or that they do anything in legacy, although I think, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, the idea of banning Tamiyo, I think lots of people would be in favor of that because nobody likes playing against Tamiyo and it's difficult to answer. So we'll see. I mean, it is only tomorrow. Are you expecting any changes?
No, I don't expect any changes. If I was in charge, I would ban Tamiyo. I probably would ban...
Okay, so you're hoping for changes then?
Well, hoping implies that I am investing emotional energy, which I'm not.
Sure, okay.
Because I have no... I think I've got to the point where I don't think that they are good caretakers.
Right.
And I don't want to say that I hope for good things because they have proven consistently that they take too long for that to happen. So I will be happy when good things happen in the future, but I essentially don't trust them, and so I don't want to invest emotional energy. but if I were in charge, I would ban Tamiyo, and I would probably also ban Oops creatures. Although, again, I know we talked about that recently, but I don't know how much it's seeing play at the moment online. I'm not on the pulse enough. I think it's a miserable experience, and I don't know what we're defending if we do defend it. Nobody plays it at paper events, realistically, and I think that says a lot about it in that people don't want to spend their time having it be part of the game. They want it to exist because they like it as a puzzle that means they can do things on their Sunday afternoon whilst playing a challenge or double queue. And that I don't think is what the game should be about.
Sure. Yeah. I think we're on the same page.
I would also
there.
ban them.
Yeah, I would get rid of something from there. We will see if anything happens. If something happens, we will assuredly talk about it. If nothing happens, then we will probably talk about that as well, because that is what we do here, which is talk about things.
Legacy, somebody was saying, they made me feel very old, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Because they asked me that question, when did you last play Standard? And I was like, 2014. And they were like, that was 12 years ago. I was like, that is true. But we were talking about Modern 12 years ago as well. Mm-hmm. And I think I started playing Modern, basically within a year of the conception of the format.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the unbans of Mox, Opal, Splinter Twin, Green Sun, Zenith, and Faithless Looting, and how I found that really exciting, and I wanted to play Modern because of it. And I did play a few paper events.
Yeah.
And they said, I think Birthing Pod will get unbanned this week. That was their opinion.
Wow.
This person. And
really?
I thought, And I was like, I think it would be quite slow, but I think it's quite an impactful card. I don't really know what Modern looks like, so I couldn't really comment, but every time I have played Modern, it is really aggressively curved, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
You can't afford to, and like Birthing Pod, if you do play it on turn 2, is still like 3 mana, tap out, pay 2 life, do nothing for a turn.
Yeah.
And that maybe is not good enough.
Maybe.
So we'll see. That would be really sweet. I think if Birthing Pod got unbanned, I would like watch a bunch of coverage to see if it worked.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see how things go tomorrow. And, well, best of luck at LLM next week.
Same to you if you come.
Thank you very much. And then I guess, it's the jury is open whether we speak before or after the ELMQ. I don't know. We haven't fixed that yet. But it's been very fun speaking to you, as always. So
great to chat.
Unless you've got anything to add.
Nope, that's all from me. And thanks for listening, everybody.
That brings us then to the end of episode 5 of Eternal Horizons. Thanks very much for listening. Please do follow us on Spotify or YouTube or wherever else you get your podcasts. Leave us a comment, leave us a rating, tell us that we're wrong about everything, tell us what decks you've been playing. Any of that stuff, it's all good. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.